Podium. Hello. Hi. Hi, everybody. How are we all doing? Guys, how are we all doing? Thank you. Thank you. First of all, thank you to Brand Innovators for bringing us all together. Thank you to IHG for having us, hosting us. We appreciate it. I am super pumped to be here with this wonderful panel. Before we get into it, hi, I'm Alison Teichman, and I am on the brands team at TeamSnap, where we convert families into super fans through youth sports marketing. Well, with youth sports, we talk a lot about emotions, right? We think back to like those nostalgic times, growing up, playing sports when we were kids, and now watching our kids playing sports. So this is a great panel for me to be hosting. So speaking of thriving, I'm going to actually go down the line. If you guys would actually introduce yourselves in your own words, tell us a little bit about your background, experience, and roles, and then we'll get started. We'll start with you.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I feel like I don't have the loudest voice and this mic isn't doing much, but I'm Lauren Flanigan. I lead partnerships and portfolio marketing at Mondelēz. And if you're not familiar with Mondelēz, we make all your favorite snacks, so Oreo, Ritz crackers, Sour Patch Kids, to name a few. I've been leading partnerships for about a year and a half at this point, and then prior to that, a bunch of traditional brand management roles, mostly on Oreo, which you'll see some examples of later today.
Hi everyone, my name is Girard Hardy. I am the Director of Brand Marketing for Walker & Company Brands. If you're familiar with Walker & Company Brands, our lead brand is a brand called Bevel. So we do head-to-toe grooming, whether that's shampoos, conditioners, body washes, shaving, that type of stuff. We're focused specifically on making those products for black and brown men. So anyone with curly, coily, textured hair types. I've been with Walker & Company for about 5 years now, based here in Atlanta, and prior to that I did brand marketing and brand marketing for North America Running for Nike out of Portland.
Hey everybody, I'm Phil Oliphant, Senior Manager of Media and Content at PGA Tour Superstore. I have an agency background, so I recognize a lot of people in this room from my agency days at 22 Squared. Spent a lot of time on the media team there, partnered with a brand called PGA Tour Superstore as one of my clients. Fast forward to now, I'm in that role. Have been there for almost 6 years, about 4 or 5 years of that prior on the agency side. We are the largest specialty golf retailer in the country. Just opened our 67th store this past weekend in Richmond, Virginia. Got 3 here in Atlanta, growing like crazy, and excited to be here to talk about all the things we do.
Hi everybody, can you hear me okay? I can't hear myself. Okay. Hi, I am the Director of Brand for the Rent Group. We are a network of dual-sided marketplaces. We match renters with a perfect place to live. I've been here for almost 2 years. Before that, I come from a 16-year career in mostly retail marketing. So I love all things consumer, I love storytelling, and I love emotion in storytelling.
Perfect. So first things first, I'd love to hear from our panelists a little bit about what emotional marketing means to you. So Lauren, why not start with you, please?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, when I think about emotional marketing, I think it's really a spectrum. So if you are a brand like Oreo with really high awareness, high penetration, I actually think emotion is table stakes in any campaign that you're doing. Like, you're not really telling people what an Oreo is. Most people know that. But you need to have some kind of connection with your consumers. So to me, it's really a spectrum. It can be as simple as driving a feeling of community. It can be a feeling of excitement. It can be something that's heartfelt or tear-jerking. So I think there's really a spectrum, and you'll see some work that Oreo's done that's kind of run that gamut. I think purpose marketing is another example of emotional marketing and just finding that authentic way to connect back to the brand. So for me, I think it's a spectrum and table stakes for really big, high-awareness brands.
So I think for me, emotion, really people make decisions based off of one of two things, right? Either they like this, so they're going to do more of it, or they don't like that, and they're going to do less of it, right? Traditionally. And so I think emotion in marketing for me is really about connecting with that consumer and connecting with them on a level of what they're interested in, what they're invested in, or how something will make them feel as a result of purchasing it. Or one of the things that we like to say at Bevel or Walker & Company Brands is really our goal is to help our consumer feel that, that fresh cut feeling, right? When you get up out of the barber chair, right, and you look in the mirror and you get that first glance at yourself, that is the feeling we want you to feel when you use our products. But every day in your bathroom, right, or at your counter. And so we're trying to connect that emotion.
Yeah, so you can buy golf clubs about anywhere, right? But we want to try to sell this feeling, this emotion, this experience of coming to a PGA Tour Superstore, because you can go to Amazon and get your thing in 2 days. But we want to encourage you to drive past our competitors and come into the store and experience. I think Nathan had said it earlier today about their people being their hero. That's really how we lean into that emotional side, is the connections that our associates in our stores have with every customer that comes in there. Everybody's in a different journey in their game of golf, and so everybody needs a different item to help their game. And so trying to evoke that emotion, and we'll show some Father's Day work that really leans into a key insight that we always try to glean before any campaign. And I think when you hammer in on that insight, whatever that might be, and we'll talk about it here in a minute, you really do kind of evoke a different feeling from somebody where they can drive past your competitors to come buy the same thing because they believe in the people that are working there and what you believe in as well.
Hard to add anything to that. I agree. Emotional marketing is everything, right? We all are emotional people, and there have been dozens, hundreds even, of studies that show marketing is stickier when there's an emotional impact. So when you talked about insights is a huge driver of the emotion. What are customers feeling? What are consumers wanting? And writing that brief with that emotional insight is the start of emotional marketing, in my opinion.
Excellent, thanks guys. So, I wanted to dive in to how your brands each actually connect emotionally to your consumers. And when we think about these brands, they're all so different, right? I mean, the consumer journey, the price point, when they're buying them, where they're buying them. And so all 4 of your brands are so interesting and tell great stories. We thought it'd be best to just show examples rather than just tell. So, Lauren, we're going to start with you. Oh, excuse me, Kate, we're going to start with you, right, starting down the line. And we're going to share some visual examples. So I'm going to ask everyone to please tap into the emotion and let's really feel what we're really trying to accomplish here. And so why don't we, if you guys want to tee these up and then talk about them after, we have clips from each.
Sure. So our insight is that finding a place to live can be a little bit intimidating. There are so many options, tons and tons of properties that are vying for the same metro attention. And it doesn't have to be that complicated. We want to make it really simple.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that there's a lot of wants and needs that can be very diverse for each and every renter. So our goal was to cover multiple amenities, the feeling of looking for the perfect place. So I teased the tagline a little bit in my intro. Our tagline, our whole idea of the campaign is rent the perfect place. So there's a little double entendre there. We're the perfect place to list your property, and we're the perfect place to find your next home care. And so we wanted to put the viewer in this emotional territory of finding the perfect place, knowing what it's like to find that perfect place. I will say in the multifamily industry, there's lots of different types of marketing out there, but nobody really nails emotional marketing. It's a tremendously emotional experience, finding a place to live. So that's why we designed this ad with the help of anybody in Atlanta familiar with Dagger Agency?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And so we partnered with them to bring this ad to life.
Thank you. Okay, next up.
All right, so we talk about insights, right? And a lot of people play golf for a lot of different reasons. For me, it's not to shoot low scores because I don't play enough. I usually try to just look good on the course. But we do a lot of research, right? And we want to hear from our customers about what drives them to play golf. And over and over and over again, it was this idea that golf is a memory generator. We play golf to have these moments to look back on with our friends, specifically with our families too. Some of us have played golf all of our lives, have memories playing with siblings or parents. Others are new to the game, and that's what drives them to play, is to get outside for 4 or 5 hours, listen to music, have a beverage or two. And so as we think about golf as a memory generator, we think about all those moments in our lives where we've shared a moment on a golf course with somebody. And Father's Day is that moment for us. When we think about our time periods of the year, Father's Day is our Super Bowl. And so this was the perfect moment in time for us to capitalize on these memories that maybe a father and a son or a father and a daughter might establish on the golf course. Thankfully, you don't need a ton of audio. The music makes it better. There's not a lot of audio there. But this is a story of a gentleman thinking back on all of the times and good memories that he's had with his father. The first scene is on the putting green out by Bobby Jones. There was a tornado that we had to take cover for, so we were hiding for about 5 or 6 hours, came up. The rest of the course was flooded, and we only had that putting green to shoot on, which made the whole spot, I think. So
That's a totally different emotion.
Was that the real rain when they got out of the
It's funny. It rained all day until we shot the rain scene. So thankfully we were prepared with the fake rain.
Okay, so this first one, we last summer was hip hop's 50th anniversary, right, or 50th birthday of hip hop. So our brand, when the brand was started about 10 years ago, one of the earliest investors in the brand, if you're familiar, is a hip-hop legend, right? Nas was one of the earliest investors in the brand. And so there's a through line between our brand, Walker & Company as a brand, but Bevel as a brand. So there's a through line between Bevel and hip-hop and hip-hop culture, and not just who we are as a brand, but also our consumer, right? So one of the things we did last summer so we launched a campaign called Respect Due, right? And so it's less about, we'll watch it, but like our product is in there, but it's less about our product and more about having this kind of connection to hip hop, and also kind of heroing that, as well as last year was our 10th anniversary as a brand, right? So there were opportunities to kind of build those two together. The reason I submitted to show this is because it's such a departure from what you just saw, right? So about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, we had the great opportunity to partner with Marvel Studios ahead of the release of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, right? And so one of the things that I wanted to do with that was, how do we take a content creator and sort of pull them up out of their space and kind of drop them into what's happening with Marvel. And so we did kind of a whole kind of push and campaign around it. And one of the creators we worked with, this gentleman, his name is, his handle is Supreme Dreams, right? So if you've seen him, he's hilarious. If you haven't, I would suggest you kind of look him up. But he does a lot of like basketball kind of takes, right, on things that are happening in the NBA, right? Like Doc Rivers is now the coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. How did that happen? So he does sort of takes on those things. But this is just kind of a quick slice of that, but really just to say the other end of the emotional kind of spectrum. You can see like our goal was to show him kind of in his environment, and then to pull him into this space of, oh, I just got invited to go to this premiere. Like, who's the first person I'm going to call? I'm going to call my barber, right? Calls his barber, the barber gets him in the chair right then and there, gets him all set and look, and then the clip ends with a compilation of Mark on the purple carpet in LA for the premiere, feeling like, okay, I'm at my best for this moment that was unexpected. I'm ready.
That was great. All really good examples. So I mentioned at the beginning that I think emotional marketing really is a spectrum. And so I have 3 videos to show. We don't have to play the whole second one. I think we can just give like a little sneak peek on it, just because the third video is super long. But for the first one, you'll see it's actually just an everyday equity ad. The insight behind it is really awesome. This was actually shot during COVID, and so there's a fun little twist at the end of the spot that you'll see that kind of nods to that. But it's actually rooted in an insight between relationships between grandparents and their grandchildren. And now, because so many people are super transient, what's become a new thing in the most recent couple of generations is that grandparents are living pretty far away from their grandkids, which is hard on them. And I see this with my own parents and my niece. They love FaceTiming with her and wish they could be there with her every day, but it's really trying to keep that connection going. And Oreo's brand is really all about playfulness and connection, and so it found that insight and really spoke to the emotion that a grandparent might feel separated from their grandchild. So it's super sweet. It's just really kind of like a heartfelt everyday spot, but it does have that emotion. Like, you feel something when you're watching it. You can't help but smile watching that super cute little kid. So I think it's a good emotion of kind of that first end of the spectrum. And then the next one is a little bit different. It's not emotional marketing in the way that you may think about it in like its purest form, but what it is it's a partnership, and what that partnership did was tap into a group of community and really tap into fandom. And I think the emotion that was felt there is, one, just excitement, fun, but then also just that connection amongst other fans who had that shared passion. So not emotional in kind of like the pure sense, but it really does tap into that fandom and that sense of community, and it really sparks something amongst people. So I think it's a good example of thinking about emotion a little bit differently. And then the last one that I'll share as an example is super emotional. I think the furthest end of the spectrum, where it's really not tied to any part of the product. You see very little of the product at all in the spot, but it really taps into purpose. And just for context and history, Oreo has long partnered and advocated with groups within the LGBTQ+ community, and this is something that we do every year for Pride. We also do it during National Coming Out Month in October. So this spot is really special, really emotional, and completely opposite end of the spectrum through purpose. I see so many red eyes, so it still gets me, and I've seen it like 100 times. But I think it's just such a great example of just really connecting authentically with the community we want to speak to and advocate for. And that work obviously is purely emotional and did really well and won a bunch of awards and won actually Cannes Lion as well. So it's one of our favorites to reference in talking about emotional marketing.
I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm glad we're out of time. I am so choked up. I don't think I can ask another question. If you have a chance to talk to either of these guys, any of these guys, please do. They are just a wonderful wealth of knowledge, and it's been a real pleasure. So thank you all.